Beach. This is the Lulich Corner, and today I'm getting the pleasure to sit down with Stephen Hume. So, Stephen, thanks for coming in. Thanks for joining us, taking your time to share your wisdom and knowledge about everything AI related. And I'd love for you to just introduce yourself to the audience and tell the audience a little bit about your background before we get started.
Yeah, absolutely. So Stephen Hume, professor in cybersecurity, digital forensics, and business analytics at Kaiser University and also at University College. So getting to the advanced technology side there and started to learn more about this wonderful tool of AI and what we can do with it. But I do have a breadth of knowledge when it comes to the generality of AI. So whatever questions you have for me, let me know what you'd like to talk about and see if I can give you some answers.
So we're not going to be talking about the nitty-gritty granular AI. We're going to keep it very broad stroked. And we're going to be talking specifically, if you're a business owner, we're going to be talking about specific ideas, strategies, and implementation ideas that AI could, be beneficial for you and your business. And so I want to say over the last 3 years, I feel like the popularity of AI has just exploded. I think back to like COVID. Yeah, there was some talk about AI, but every conversation that you have regarding tech, AI is now a part of that conversation. So why have we made so much advancement in AI in the past few years? I mean, was it around, but it just wasn't popular yet? Or, what do you think has caused it to become so mainstream?
I think the big things that have caused it to become mainstream are you see it now in all different aspects of life where people learn how to use it appropriately. So like any tool that you get, if you have, what do they say for repairmen, the easiest way to do a job is if you have the right tool, or the best toolbox in your toolbox is the one you need, right? So if you're trying to repair something and you need a hammer, you don't have a hammer, a screwdriver is not going to help you.
Right.
So I think what we learned is AI generally can help in so many different areas, but you had to have subject matter experts to actually be able to train AI appropriately, right? It's great you have AI, but it's like a baby, right? So it starts off, you probably use it to write emails. Everybody out there probably uses it to write emails at this point, right? If you're not using it to write emails, try it, all right? Write out your email first, throw it in there, tell it to write it professionally or make it better, and it can do that pretty quickly, right? You can figure out what words to use, how to change things into a better order. But as it learns those emails that you send to it, and I'm just using this as a broad example, it starts to learn who is Jordan Lulich. It starts to learn about your business because you're writing about your business emails. Don't put personal data in there. Nothing like that. These are general conversations that you're having, stuff like that. Having a good day, we're going for lunch somewhere, where can I meet you? Oh, you meet with this gentleman or lady 5 times a month, and it's usually at lunch, it's usually at 12. How about I start creating a calendar for you to, have that happen on a more regular basis? Or what are you getting out of it? Tell me what happens at those lunches. And so you tell this learning language model, this is what I do here without actually talking to it, right? You're not having a conversation at this point. It's just pulling your data. Now, when you decide to have a conversation with it, you can say, hey, what did I do last week on Wednesday between, whatever hours? And it gives you a broad example of what you might have been doing. Now you start to get that data back that you can actually use in real time. And if it's actually supportive of what you're trying to do. If it's not, you get rid of it, right? So going back to you being a subject matter expert of your life, that lunch was a one-off, or that drink was a one-off, or that meeting was a one-off. Oh no, that meeting was very important. This came from it, and it's going to be building my business, however way going down the road for the future. So it's learning, right? So I think what you're saying, or getting back to your question of where was it 2 years ago, it was learning. And now we have these models that have learned enough, they're able to actually participate in our daily life a lot more. And that's the thing, the training curve, right? So I've done this for a couple of people. I had a credit analyst at a bank ask me to just do a quick thing on a commercial property just to see how it would cash flow. I have no idea what that spreadsheet looks like. I don't know what cap rates are at the time or anything like that. Like, I just knew what information he gave me, and I gave it back to him, and he was like, that's incredible. Now, I had no idea what he was looking at. And I wouldn't know, but he knows, and he knew where to take things out. Like, this doesn't work, and sometimes information is going to be wrong, and we call those hallucinations, where AI comes up with stuff.
Yeah, it's just completely inaccurate. Yeah, I know for like business owners, one of the things I was talking to someone recently about was that there's these AI answering services that are now available, and so for $99 a month, You can literally have AI answer your phone, and that could just be off hours on the weekend after 5. It doesn't have to be during business hours. And one of the things that the person who implemented this was telling me was it takes a lot of training in order to make it effective. But once AI is trained, it's effective. Which that, and you just hit on that as well. It's mind blowing to me. Like, you actually have to train AI. So I think when you start to use AI, it's probably similar to training a team member that you're bringing onto your team, right?
It's going to be your number one employee.
Yeah.
Right? It's you. And getting to the answering service. So think about FAQs, right? Frequently asked questions.
Yeah.
That's all a chat bot is. So everybody out there that's used a chat bot, you click on the little bot and, it might have a picture of a person, but it's not a person. It's got predetermined questions in there with predetermined answers. And if you mess it up, it can't get the answer, it circles back to something else, right? Or it might just give you, hey, call sales rep between the hours of 7 to 9 p.m. or whatever the hours are, right? With AI, you start there with those frequently asked questions, right? But then it learns what you're doing. You can have it listen to your phone call data. You can have it listen to or go through your emails. You can have it go through your things to see a broader picture of what Jordan does on a daily basis. And then you can add a picture of, now that's the other thing too, is AI has gotten to the point where you can do video, art. We've seen some of these videos out there. They can be a little outlandish. But you could produce yourself, right? Where you're actually answering on a screen or on a phone. And there is a gentleman here who uses this very well in the community. And I've had a conversation I thought I was having with him on the phone, flat out. And it was not. And I was like, well, we talked about this. And he's like, oh, I haven't got to my messages yet. I was like, okay. So it's already, it's already there. And it was very, steady. It didn't have the breaks and the pauses that you might have heard before. But now imagine that with your face and your video image, right? Your cinematic appearance, right? You can have it whatever you want to be, and answering questions in real time. Now, you do have to always look at using a tool the right way. And if it is answering incorrectly or not appropriately, you again have to be that subject matter expert to make sure before you release this thing into the wild.
Right. So it's a tool, right? Like, we can't completely rely on AI. So when you think about AI being an effective tool for business operations, are there certain industries where AI is a little bit more prevalent than other industries or more effective?
I think it can be very effective in any industry, especially when you look at that chatbot feature, right? If you can get that down to a way that you can interact with all of your customers at any time, that's industry wide, or any industry, sorry. Now, if you're looking at an exact, pinpointed, like AI will be the best here, anything that's going to carry data. So the more data you have and the more metadata that you take in to be able to accomplish your goals. So let's say medical. So right now, and this will kind of vary a little bit here, but it's needed. So AI, and the computing power it takes for AI and the energy it takes is what's also holding us back right now. Like, we know Microsoft bought 3 Mile Island, which used to be a nuclear power plant that exploded back in I don't know the exact date, I think it's 70s or 60s. Don't date me, I'm not sure. But the plant exploded, they bought it, they're going to rebuild it, and they're going to use it to run their AI systems, right? That's the amount of power that you need to be able to generate where we're going. And couple that with quantum computing, virology, or, the study of viruses, trying to figure out how to create a vaccine for a virus. Cleveland Clinic actually has a quantum computer in their atrium up in Cleveland that they're just waiting on the power to be there and the computing power to be there too, as well as the chips, which is a whole nother conversation. We'll go down that road. But you have this computer that will be available to the public very soon, that you get a new virus of some sort and it can extrapolate infinity vaccines. So that comes from data though, data, metadata, and being able to compile all that information and give you an answer to all the questions that you ask, right? So when you ask what business would it be best in, the more data you have to train a model, the better this tool is going to be.
That's a good answer. We were talking recently about AI. We're talking about automation, and as a business owner, you still want to deliver, a really good client experience for your clients. And so I know something that a lot of businesses are challenged with is, how do they automate? How do they, increase their productivity and become more efficient and use AI for automation? But how do they not take away from that client experience for their clients? So do you have any tips or strategies or ideas, as far as implementing AI in order to help with the efficiency and help with the productivity for automations, but still not taking away from that client experience?
Yeah, in fact, I'll give you an example that adds to that client experience. Let's go with the resort. We're actually doing a project at the resort right now. And let's say Jordan books this resort and it comes from Priceline or wherever it comes to, right? And you've been to other resorts that's, in this area, or maybe it's been out of the area. But when you get there, you always order a Mai Tai, right? And it starts to understand what it is that you've done before. So this AI is predictive now, so that when you show up, your client experience or your experience at this resort, it's going to book paddleboarding for you or ski or whatever that you're doing, wherever you're going, right? It'll have your drinks, it'll have your food, it'll have your things that you want to do, your excursions, already pre-done for you. So when you get there, you don't have to talk to the concierge or anything at the beginning, because you can just get this right away by what your interests are and what your likes are. And this could be done by actually filling out a form prior to making the reservation, right? Or as you make the reservation, AI can go through, scour that, and be able to couple you with, wherever you would have the best time, the best experience. So now when you get there, you're not fumbling around trying to figure out anything. You're hitting the ground running, and you're going, and you're getting things that you need or that you want as an experience, as compared to trying to figure out who you are, what you are when you get to that place. Now, does this take away from the client experience? I think this adds to the client experience, but you still want to have the personal touch, right? So if you know that they're ordering food or they're going to be doing something, you want a human to deliver that food, or you want a human to express the activities that they're going to do or anything. You don't want it to be a bot. You don't want it to be an email, right? You want it to be someone there.
Letting somebody who's, in charge of client experience use this as a tool to help enhance it versus replacing that role entirely. What is your thought? Do you think that AI is going to eliminate jobs out there for certain industries?
Yes. But I think it'll also create new jobs, right? There's going to always be new things that come from new technologies that we haven't even thought about yet.
And as a professor, this is somewhat off, unrelated to the businesses. Kids right now, they've got the ability for essays, to ask AI to write out an essay.
Yeah.
So when we went to school, it was completely different. The need to be able to analyze and write out an essay, arguably no longer even exist anymore because we have AI. So how do you think AI is going to shape our education, and how do you think, what trends are you seeing with the education system, specifically on how AI is impacting the future of education?
Yeah, so in one of the departments, we've gotten arguments about this with the math and English department immediately, right? Like, what does our department exist for anymore? Because you can do math and you can do English without having to learn it, right? And be perfect.
Right.
And that's where you get into this. It's a tool, and we got to figure out how to use it appropriately. For me, if you're not the best writer, or you can't convey your knowledge that you have in your head, say you're one of the smartest people, and say you can cure cancer, right? And you just can't convey that message through writing it down. You're just one of those abstract type of people that can't put there, but you have it all up here. AI is going to be the thing to help you, because you can talk to it, give it whatever you've got, and it can formulate it into an actual paper that somebody can read, right? Or give you the power of being able to express yourself in a genuine way, because it's you talking, but now somebody can actually read it. So I think it actually will empower people more to be able to communicate better, because right now it's tough to communicate if you don't know how. For those people that are, not illiterate, but behind the curve, I think it helps them be able to bring in, their ideas. It helps them to see where they can be when it comes to math and those skills. I think that, as long as we're still teaching the fundamentals and we're making people understand how things work, I think it's great. But it's great to teach it at that level. But when it comes to algorithms, and I'll get into some of my students, we talked about this before. I think at one point we had, or I have students right now that have been on social media since before they were born, right? Because they had sonogram pictures put up by their parents. And so this algorithm's been following them around forever, and it's teaching them, not even teaching them, it's learning from them what they like and what they do. And then now it's actually not making them, but it's guiding them in a path that maybe they don't want to go, right? The ad that pops up when you think about it, that's the type of thing we're talking about here. That's the algorithm on the back end that's pre-assembling what you're going to do for a day. And they don't like that, right? They want to get away from that. So I think when you look at it, there might be a time where you see this generation that I'm teaching right now pull back from all of this So we might be having a conversation about this right now where it's going to go, but we might have a whole group of people coming up that don't want it at all.
I do wait, but I think ultimately what I kind of gathered from what you said, it's the same thing as business owners as is it for students. It's a tool to help us do what we're doing. It's not to replace job entirely or learning mechanism entirely. It's there to help aid us, not replace like the resort example you gave. It's not to replace a client experienced person at the resort or concierge person. It's there to help use that as a tool and help really provide more value rather than replace that job function in its entirety.
That's it. It's a tool to provide more value, and I think you just nailed it. That's the best way to explain it. But we have to be conscious about that. We have to be responsible about that, and make sure that that's how we, as just people who use it on a daily basis, now start to think about it that way. Because you'll have both ends, right? You'll have the end that doesn't want it all, and you'll have the other end that's, let's go to universal income and robots and have no jobs, right? So we got to find that middle ground where we use this to better our lives, to make us healthier, happier, and safer.
Awesome. Well, guys, thanks for listening in. I'm Jordan Lulich. This is the Lulich Corner. And today I got to sit down with Steven. All right. And we'll see you next time. Thank you.